Stream of the Farbrengen for Gary Friedman. Matthew,
Hello.
start it.
Something's ringing on my watch. Hold on. Stand call the chief while I'm sitting.
Okay.
So I guess it's good evening and welcome to everyone who's joining us live on the airwaves of the internet. We're at the Chabad House Minyan, 4541 19th Avenue Northeast, celebrating the life of Chaplain Gary Friedman of blessed memory. And if you knew Chaplain Gary Friedman, you might find some of the stories here tonight interesting. If you didn't know Chaplain Gary Friedman, you will absolutely find the stories interesting.
He was interesting.
He was a very interesting man, yes. If you were with us this afternoon at the cemetery, you probably saw our live feed then. If you weren't, you can go back and look at it. I want to thank the people who came up to the cemetery. I want to thank the people who came up tonight. And I read something at the cemetery, and I have another thing to read. So those of you who were with us this afternoon might hear it again, and some more new stuff. And more people coming.
Yay.
More people coming. Is that a Ben Dershowitz?
Yeah.
Is that a Ben? Oh my God. Hi Ben.
Wonderful. Pull up a chair.
How you doing? So before we start, I'm going to ask our camera master to turn around and show you a picture that's covering our Holy Ark at this point. This is an image of a new parochet cover for the Holy Ark that has left Israel yesterday and is on its way to the United States to come over here to the shul to be our new cover.
Cool.
And
That's a martini. It's mine.
basically it's a thought that's been going on for a while and took some time to come to fruition, but we finally got it done. And hopefully by this Shabbos it will be here and we'll have it up and ready to go. Gary used to come to the synagogue for many years. He used to live in this building when it was still the Chabad House of Seattle. Lived upstairs in one of the rooms.
Nice room.
Which one I wouldn't know.
I knew.
You may know, but I haven't been here that long.
I don't know her.
And Gershon would know, yeah?
I lived here.
So these are all the old people who knew him when he was young.
He was never young.
He was never
Younger.
Younger.
never young?
He was
Okay,
wonderful.
never young, okay.
So did I.
Forever young.
Can you sing that?
It's still her good
Can you sing that?
I can't.
Oh.
My nephew read it and our bits and all that.
So let's have some stories.
He made sure.
So,
So we're not going to broadcast this whole thing. I think it's time for a few stories, and then we'll stop the broadcast.
So we're here tonight to celebrate the life of Gary by telling stories about him and remembering the good things, the bad things, and whatever things that he did.
And to make good resolutions to continue his memory.
And you just heard. And to make a resolution to continue his life mission and make sure.
We Nader.
So I'm going to actually point at someone and ask them to start. And if the person throws something at me, I want it documented. So
It's always weird when you have social media recording everything. You know, you're
no, that's not social media recording everything. Social media is showing it. We're recording it.
But anyway, on to the pointing.
recorded for personal use or just going out on the net.
It
It's
is,
going out on our Facebook page, yes.
Thank you.
So Jay,
It's a good thing.
you knew Gary probably as good as most of us, if not better.
Well, I spent more time with Gary than any of you, including when he lived here, because I only lived with him from 9 to 5 every day for 15 years. And after he died, we did the same thing, and I said, you know, at graveside, Gary and I were the odd couple together. I don't know which one of the two I was, but, you know, we played good guy, bad guy. I was generally the good guy. An interesting guy, an interesting man. I not only lived with him, worked with him, we were like brothers in a million ways. We traveled together. We lived together on the road, on the road in our play business. It wasn't a play business for him, in the Chabad business. And through it all, I really got to know and watch and see Gary in terms of JPSI and Judaism, and he was steadfast. He was resolute. There was no way to move him off point, and he had some very weird sets of rules, but he had some really strong principles, and I watched him exhibit them. I.e., who told the story today of the letter he wrote after somebody said something? Did you tell me the story?
I was reading someone sent us an email.
David
Young.
David Young. I remember him actually. He was always there. Gary's personality. How do you describe Gary's personality? At the same occasion as this 3 years back, coming back from the cemetery, I sat at the end of the table because Gary and I would always sit at the end of the table. He'd sit at the end, I'd sit next to him. And Matt said to me, Jay, sit at the end and be Gary, which means you have to be grumpy.
No, that's Steve said that.
I thought it was you.
Steve said that.
You gotta be grumpy.
Yeah.
And you know, that was part of his,
Persona.
it was part of his hiding spot.
Personality.
Part of his hiding spot was persona.
Yeah.
Gary, as tough as he was on the outside, was a marshmallow. You know, he was a people person. He was there for people. Do I miss him? Sure I do. It was every day for 15 years. I know all of his personal stuff, which most of you don't and won't, because Gary was very tight to the vest, but he had a very interesting life here and growing up as a kid in Canada. His marriage, though short-lived, was a wonderful time for him. The kids he grew up with, he was still friendly with in Canada. Most all of you that I know here knew Gary in a different context, coming from a place where he helped you heal yourselves and help yourselves. And that's part of, I think, what gave him a feeling of gratification. Beyond that, I don't know, you know? I don't know. We're a tag team. We definitely were a tag team. That's it.
Here, have a L'chaim bottle. Oh, you want it in a cup. So, while I'm pouring for lovely Madam Recorder, I have a story to tell.
Speaker of the House.
One of the first
I think that was Pelosi.
years that I knew Gary, or not one of the first years, one of the years I knew Gary, he asked me to help with a community Seder. We were going to hold a Seder that was open to anyone from the community who wanted to come and join for the celebration of the holiday of Passover. and the ceremony was going to be downstairs at Sharet Tefillah, at the synagogue.
There was someone at the door.
They'll come to the other door. And we were going to be downstairs. The Russian Seder was going to be upstairs. And Gary had a very fancy Ford Bronco. And when we were pretty much set, the whole place downstairs, he said, come on, we're going to...
Come on in.
Hi, and come on in.
Hey,
Gary said, come with me, Matt. We're going to the Bronco. You're going to carry something in. And I said, okay. And I went to the Bronco, and he said, you need these kitchen towels. I said, what am I going to carry that? I need kitchen towels for? And he opened the back of the Bronco, and in the back of the Bronco, there was a mirror laying on the back of the back of the truck. And he says, watch out, it's very sharp, it doesn't have a frame. And I said, okay. And I grabbed it, and I said, where are we going? He said, inside. He said, we're going to hide it in the kitchen. I said, okay. And then people started showing up for the Seder, and people started coming in for all kinds of other things. And the rabbi who was going to do the Seder, to officiate the Seder, is one of the Levitan twins. Came in, and Gary greeted him, and they talked, and they figured out how they're going to do things. And all the guests came in and sat down, and the rabbi was ready to start, and Gary said, 1 minute, before you start. And he said, Matt, go get it. And I showed up, coming out of the kitchen was this huge mirror in my hands. And Gary said to the young rabbi, every year you and your twin, you would be here to do the Seder, and this year your twin is not in town and you're by yourself. So in order for you not to feel alone, I brought this mirror. We're going to put it on a chair right next to you here, so every time you turn your head and look right, you'll see an image that will remind you of your brother, and you won't feel alone. And he made me put the mirror right there, and he wouldn't let anyone get in his way about it. He said, until we do that, we can't start the Seder. And we did. We put the mirror down, and I don't remember if it was Yoni or Levi, one of the two twins, but every time he turned around, he would see... No, it was Yoni or Levi, twins.
Schneer's an older brother.
Schneer's a little older.
It was Yoni.
But for the whole Seder, that mirror sat there, and Gary grinned from ear to ear every time the rabbi turned around and looked at the mirror. And that's how the Seder went the whole evening. And that was one of the things Gary used to do, is he would try to make people feel good, and he would try to be a little funny sometimes, and sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't work so well. But he tried.
and I'm going to pause this and switch to